Hey there, podcast and chill listeners. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Leo, the guy who can make you laugh while teaching you a thing or two.
And I'm Gwen, your informative host, here to guide you through the ins and outs of today's theme. So, Leo, what's our topic today?
I think this topic is very practical because it plays an important role in finding the right and appropriate method to learn English. Today, we will talk about 5 common mistakes people make when learning English and how to avoid them. Does that sound good, Gwen?
Of course. Whether you are a beginner or have been learning English for a while, this episode will help you improve your skills. So let's get started. Let's see what the first mistake is.
It's not practicing English enough. Let's face it, speaking a new language can be challenging. Maybe you worry about making mistakes, or perhaps you feel your pronunciation isn't perfect. But here's the secret: practicing speaking is key to mastering English.
Why is speaking important? Speaking helps you use the words and grammar you learn. It also helps you become more comfortable with the language. When you speak, you practice your pronunciation and learn to listen better. The more you use your English voice, the stronger and more comfortable you'll become.
If you don't practice speaking, it can be hard to talk to people in English. Do you still feel nervous or shy when trying to speak English?
Here are some tips to help you feel better about speaking. The first thing is to find a speaking partner. If you have friends or someone who wants to learn to speak English, they can help you improve and feel more comfortable.
You can look for online communities or language exchange apps where you can connect with English learners to practice conversation.
Don't worry if practicing like this seems boring and you don't know where to start. Let's role play together to talk about topics closest to you.
Pretend you're in different situations, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. Practice what you would say in these situations.
Here's another thing. Have you ever thought about talking to yourself? If you can't find a partner to practice speaking, this is also a way for you to practice on your own.
Practice speaking simple sentences in front of a mirror. It might feel silly at first, but it's a great way to build confidence and get comfortable with the sound of your English voice. This helps you see your expressions and feel more confident.
The next thing is thinking in English. Instead of translating everything from your native language, try to think in English as much as possible. This will help you become more fluent and spontaneous.
And for this to be effective, use your phone to record yourself speaking. Listen to the recording and see where you can improve.
The second mistake is relying too much on your native language. It's easy to use your native language when learning English, but it can slow you down.
Why is this a problem?
When you rely too much on your native language, you don't practice thinking in English. This makes it harder to remember and use English words and sentences. It also slows down your speaking and understanding skills.
This is how to practice thinking in English. You should use an English dictionary.
When you encounter an unknown word, instead of using an English, your first language dictionary, use an English one. This helps you learn new words in English and understand their meanings better.
Labeling things around you is also a good way to think in English. Write the names of things in English on sticky notes and put them on objects around your home. This helps you think in English when you see these objects.
Have you ever set your devices to English? If not, let's try.
Change the language on your phone, computer, and other devices to English. This helps you practice reading and understanding English every day.
All of the above are what is closest to you. It will help you approach English in the most confident and effective way.
The third mistake is skipping grammar basics. Although the purpose of language is to help people communicate with each other, but if you ignore basic grammar, you may have difficulty when exposed to situations where you need to use academic English.
Grammar is the set of rules that tells us how to put words together to make sentences. It's very important to know the basics of grammar.
If you skip the basics, it can be hard to make good sentences and understand English well.
So, how to learn grammar basics? Please start with simple tenses. You have to learn the present simple, past simple, and future simple tenses. These are used a lot in English.
It's also about practicing sentence structure. Don't ignore learning how to make simple sentences with a subject, verb, and object. For example, I eat an apple.
It looks easy, but if you don't understand the grammar well, you will be confused when you encounter sentences with more difficult structures.
You can use grammar books and apps. There are many good books and apps that can help you learn grammar. Find one that you like and use it regularly.
English Grammar in Use by Raymond Murphy is a good book for beginners. You don't need to download too many apps and not know which one to use.
That's right. Learning online on YouTube like this is also a way for you to find channels that provide suitable learning methods for yourself. Exchange. Definition: to give something and receive something else in return. Example: they exchange gifts on their birthdays. Rely. Definition: to depend on or trust in someone or something. Example: I rely on my alarm clock to wake me up in the morning. Silly. Definition: acting in a way that doesn't make much sense or isn't very smart. Example: it was silly of me to forget my keys inside the house. Method. Definition: a way of doing something, a technique. Example: she used a new method for organizing her study notes. Label. Definition: to attach a tag or marker to something to identify or describe it. Example: he labeled all his folders to keep his documents organized. What are some ways to practice speaking English mentioned in the podcast? Finding a partner, practicing in front of a mirror, recording yourself, role-playing. What kind of sentences should you start practicing to learn grammar basics? Simple sentences with a subject, verb, and object.
Let's continue.
The fourth mistake is ignoring listening practice.
Listening is very important when learning English.
Think about how you learned your native language. You probably listened to your parents and caregivers talk for a long time before you started talking yourself.
If you don't practice listening, it can be hard to understand people when they speak English.
Here are some ways to improve your listening.
Use podcasts and audiobooks. Start with podcasts like ours or audiobooks that are spoken more slowly. This helps you get used to the rhythm and flow of spoken English.
Listen to music with lyrics. Pay attention to how the words are pronounced and sung.
Watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles. This helps you see the words and hear how they are pronounced.
Famous sitcoms like Friends and Modern Family use words that are not too difficult. You can watch them for both entertainment and learning English.
But don't watch them too early when you're just starting out. It will be hard to keep up with the native speaker's speed and you might get bored quickly.
The last mistake is being afraid to make mistakes.
That sounds strange, right? But making mistakes is a normal part of learning. If you are afraid to make mistakes, it can slow down your learning. When you make mistakes, you learn what you need to improve.
It's important to see mistakes as a chance to learn, not something bad. Everyone makes mistakes, even people who speak English very well.
Right now, in this podcast, we are also finding 5 common mistakes to fix so we can improve day by day.
When you were a child, you often tripped and fell until you could walk steadily. As you grow up, you also make mistakes. We can never stop that. But we can make those mistakes less and less by finding the right direction and practicing hard.
Here's how to turn mistakes into stepping stones. Firstly, stay positive. Understand that making mistakes is a crucial part of learning.
No one can be successful for a long time without making mistakes. Instead of feeling down about them, see each mistake as a way to get better.
And remember to learn from mistakes. When you make an error, take time to reflect on what went wrong and how you can correct it in the future. This helps you remember what you learn better and stops you from making the same mistakes again.
The last thing, and also the most important thing, is practice makes perfect. Engaging in conversations with supportive friends can boost your confidence.
They can give you helpful advice and support, making it safe for you to practice speaking without worrying about being judged. You can find mentors online or offline who are experts in learning English and can help you learn the right way. Ignore. Definition: to ignore something is to choose not to notice it or pay attention to it on purpose. Example: please don't ignore my advice. It's important for your safety. Rhythm. Definition: a strong, regular, repeated pattern of movement or sound. Example: the music had a catchy rhythm that made everyone want to dance. Feedback. Definition: information about reactions to a product, a person's performance of a task, etc., used as a basis for improvement. Example: she asked her boss for feedback on her presentation to know how she could improve. Pronounce. Definition: to make the sound of a word or letter in the correct way. Example: can you pronounce this word correctly for me? Steadily. Definition: in a regular and continuous way, gradually. Example: the company's profits have been steadily increasing over the past year. What is the benefit of listening to podcasts made for English learners? They speak more slowly and clearly, making it easier to understand. Why is it important not to be afraid of making mistakes when learning English? Making mistakes is a natural part of learning, and it helps you understand what you need to improve.
That's all for today's episode. We hope you find our tips useful for your English learning journey.
Remember, making mistakes is okay and a part of learning. Practice speaking, think in English, learn grammar basics, practice listening, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Keep practicing, and you will get better every day.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to explore, send us a message.
Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode. This is Leo and Gwen from Podcast and Chill.